BYD just launched one of their most important cars, I think, of the last year or two, a new electric sedan in China, and it's cheaper than the Dolphin, almost as big as the Seal, and has over 520 kilometers of range. Here's everything we know about it, because it is a big deal. It's a lot cheaper than the Seal, by the way. So this is a real car. You will be able to go buy this in the next couple of weeks in China. They're actually pushing this out to dealerships right now. So BYD just quietly dropped this new EV in China. Very little promotion at all. And I think it might be one of the smartest cars they've made in the last year or two. Like I said, definitely it's my sort of thing. It's a stripped back, more budget-friendly car, not flashy at all. They stripped back a lot of the tech. Doesn't have a rotating screen. It's called the BYD E7, so you probably haven't heard much about it yet, but it's just arrived in the showrooms, and it sits right between the Atto 3 and the Dolphin, both in price and size. So what makes this one interesting is the mix of range, practicality, and affordability. So it doesn't try to be flashy at all. So for example, the door handles, they're the same door handles, roughly speaking, as a Volkswagen from 2010. Just a normal pull handle, nothing fancy. It just works. No rotating screen. And I think that's exactly why this car matters so much. So let's jump into it. What is the BYD E7? This is BYD's newest electric sedan. It's essentially a budget-friendly, ordinary car. It's the budget-friendly alternative to the BYD Seal and the Seal 06, and it's being positioned as an ideal option for first-time buyers, retirees, taxi drivers, and business fleets. So price-wise, it's cheap. Obviously, it's expected to come in at around 21,500 Aussie dollars, or 24,000 for the bigger battery one, or 12,000 euros to 14,000 euros, roughly speaking. And then there are actually some discounts they've talked about putting in the first month, which is actually going to knock off 5,000 yuan, which is about, I don't know, 700 euros or something like that, 1,000 Aussie dollars. So that drops the base price to under 21,000 Aussie dollars. Can you imagine that? Going down to your local Brisbane dealership and buying a brand new sedan with a 4,500 kilometer range for 20 grand. That is crazy. So compare that to the BYD Dolphin, which starts at around 23,000 Aussie dollars in China anyway. And you're looking at a car that's about 8 to 10%, 8 to 11% roughly cheaper, but offers more interior space, longer wheelbase, so should in theory be more comfortable on long trips. And I'll get into exactly how they've managed to do this in a minute, because they have definitely stripped some of it back. But in essence, there are no real cons, I don't think. Hello folks, my name is Ben Alexander. Thank you very much for tuning in. I always say this, but I really do appreciate your time, and I really hope you enjoy the video. If you're following the global EV market, especially what BYD is doing in China, this is one of those cars that could fly somewhat under the radar, but actually shows us where the market is heading. So we've seen the posh stuff, we've seen the fancy stuff, but now it's the regular cars for regular people, which is really evident because obviously the BYD Seal, for example, is now being released all over in the UK, Malta, Australia, for example, just all over. It's coming in lots of different countries now after the initial wave of the more expensive, posher cars. So obviously there's nothing weird about this. We all know this. It's just really refreshing to see these really reasonable, cheap cars coming to market, which is really, really great. So the E7, for a bit of a size comparison, if you want to compare it to the Seal, for example, you might think it looks like a BYD Seal. The Seal is 4.8 meters long. The E7 is less than an inch shorter. The wheelbase is very, very similar, 2.82 meters in length wheelbase, which is 30 millimeters, so it's just over an inch more than the Dolphin, and 1.9 meters wide, 1.5 meters in height, or 1.515 in height. So this isn't a small car. In fact, it's longer than a Toyota Corolla sedan, so it's a reasonable car. You could definitely do 2,000-3,000 kilometers in it, and it's about the same size roughly as a Model 3, you could say, but it weighs, this is where it gets interesting, under 1,500 kilos, or 1,566 kilos if you get the bigger battery, which is pretty cool, I think. So for context, The Seal weighs 1,922 kilos, so that's 20 to 25% weight reduction, which is crazy. That reduced weight gives it better efficiency, which basically brings us to the next bit, the range. The car is actually, I would say 3 large adult passengers less at all times. So that's a lot of weight got removed, basically. So that, you can see that in the efficiency. It's actually quite efficient. You get a good range. It comes with 2 options. You get both LFP blade batteries, obviously. You get 48 kilowatt hour, which gives you 450 CLTC kilometers range. Probably translate to 380, maybe something like 390 if you're lucky. Or 57.6 kilowatt hour. It's a solid battery choice, offering 520 kilometers in range, CLTC, or 420, 440, or something like that in the real world, maybe. Now, if we compare that to the BYD Dolphin, and also I think it's the Dolphin 15.5 or 1,600 kilos. I can't remember exactly what the Dolphin is. So it's even lighter than a Dolphin, but it's bigger than a Dolphin. So they've definitely reduced this in weight by quite a bit. The Dolphin has, the premium one is 60.48 kilowatt hours in the battery, 420 kilometers in range, WLTP. I do sort of feel like the Dolphin is not the most efficient in the world, but it is efficient enough. It's all right. It's not weirdly inefficient or anything like that. So the E7's larger pack is giving you around 5 to 7% more real-world range, and that's with less power as well, which is okay. It's definitely not a slow car. So this tells us BYD's targeting efficiency, not performance, clearly. The motor is 100 kilowatts in power or 134 horsepower, front-mounted under the bonnet, 180 newton meters of torque, and top speed is limited to 150 kilometers per hour. If you compare that to the Dolphin Premium, which is it's a nippy car, I'll get into this in a minute, but 150 kilowatts, and actually from driving around in the Dolphin, I see 160 sometimes, 165 on the screen in front of you when you really cane it. So, and also 310 newton meters of torque. It's quite nippy. It's quite a fast car, really, and the E7 is 33% less powerful, so I get it. It might seem slow in theory, but I don't think it's slow, personally. Remember, this isn't meant to be fast, it's meant to be cheap, so that's the aim of the game. It's a cheap car, not a fancy fast car. BYD hasn't shown the full interior yet, but what we do know is that it sticks to a practical, minimal layout. We've seen a couple of photos and stuff. Designed for durability and ease of use. Nothing fancy. There's no rotating screens at all in this. Just a standard little screen in front of you, big screen in the middle, which is big enough. It looks nice. This is very likely going to have fabric seats as well. Nothing like fancy leather or anything like that. Physical buttons where needed and lots of usable space. The E7 clearly is aimed at fleet buyers or people that just don't want anything fancy. They just want to drive, but they don't want a little car. Maybe someone who drives around the motorways a lot. There are suggestions that the Dolphin was made for the owner to enjoy it, and I think that's true, and want to drive it more. That seems to have gone a bit with the E7, I think. The underwhelming power and luck about it suggests that it's not for the British B road, I don't think. BYD is pushing this into the dealerships in China right now, literally, and it's expected to launch formally in the next 2 to 3 weeks based on current pricing as well. It's 40% cheaper than a Seal. Cut them some slack if you think it's a bit slow or a bit boring. It's 40% cheaper than a Seal, which is already fairly cheap. You get proper range, good battery chemistry, a decent badge. It's obviously a BYD. Nothing fancy, no gimmicks. I've seen that in the comments. I know some people simply just don't want loads of gimmicks and they don't want technology for technology's sake. It does have proper fast charging, a lighter, simpler platform as well with the blade battery, which is really, really great. Nice charging curve, things like that. This is the kind of car I think that could replace thousands of petrol-powered city sedans across China and definitely overseas markets too as well, like for Europe, for example. I know in the UK, maybe less so in 2025, but sedans typically have been fairly common in the UK. If you go up and down the artery motorways, the M1, A1, loads of people rocking up and down in sedans because they simply they cover the miles really, really well. I think that this could do really well in the UK. Really, I think it would be really great. I know someone who also has a Volvo saloon, which could, this could replace it easily for them because equally as big, roughly similar power. They're both white. They can both do 200 miles. And the Volvo keeps breaking, frankly, and it costs a fortune to replace because it's an old petrol Volvo. So in 2023, BYD sold over 3 million EVs globally. In Q1 this year, they've already sold quite a bit more than that, which is not 3 million, but more than a quarter of what they did in that year. They're looking for 4 million, I think, this year. A big reason for that growth is the expansion of their budget lineup. Obviously, things like the Dolphin, the Seal, the E7. I think they are spreading globally. I think they have a number of plants which will be operational in Europe, where, for example, they will be making the Dolphin. I know this for a fact. They'll be making the Dolphin and the Seal in Europe in a couple of places. So cars like this aren't made to go viral on social media. They really, really aren't. They're made to sell in huge numbers and just get the job done, which is really, really great. And if the pricing that we're seeing holds and they don't up that much in the next couple of years, the E7 could really become a major volume seller around the world wherever they put it. I'm sure they'll be very picky about which countries they pick to sell it, especially for government contracts and things like that. Company fleets, drivers who just want an EV to get the job done, taxis again, for example. And I think here's the key point. While Tesla focuses on scaling with 1 or 2 models and automation, BYD is slicing up the market by use case, which I think is more clever, in my opinion. And I know a lot of you agree with that. So the Seal is for buyers who want performance. The Dolphin is for tech-loving commuters. The E7 is for people who just simply care about value and just need a reliable electric workhorse from a good company, good battery chemistry, a good range. And I think the BYD E7 is one of the most important EVs that they've launched this year, not because it's the most exciting, not because it's the best looking or the fastest, but simply because it fills a massive gap for ordinary people, and it lends itself to just being a usable workhorse, a useful, realistic, practical electric sedan with 450 kilometers real world WLTP range. And I think that's good. It's got enough features to make it feel modern, and they've stripped it back as far as they could, I think. We don't have confirmation on overseas releases yet, or the plans for that, so we just don't know if it's going to come, but I'm fairly confident it's going to come for sure to places like England and Australia, and also Southeast Asia. This could seriously shake things up, I think. And I say that because when someone can go to a BYD dealership and get a 30,000 Aussie dollar BYD E7 or a $40,000 Seal, for example, a large portion of the people that would have otherwise gotten a Seal will now just choose to save the money and get this car. So I think that's really great. Anything like this is a positive, really, because it means we can save money. And so what do you think? What would you say about the BYD E7? Would you consider something like the E7 if it came to your country? Particularly interested if you're from the UK, Europe or Australia. Or do you think buyers will still just want more power, more tech or bigger batteries or anything like that? Let me know in the comments. I'd really like to hear from you all. What do you think that you'd look for in a let's say a 20,000 euro EV like this? Maybe the power seems underwhelming, I know, for a lot of people, I know. But it's still a normal amount of power, and I don't think it will feel slow at all. It will feel sensible and reasonable, and you can overtake and do everything you want. So please let me know in the comments. You're very welcome to subscribe as well, or unsubscribe. It works both ways. And yeah, thank you very much for your time.